Hey guys, ShotGuy64 here, and today we're going to be talking about this thing. The blue Namco Miss Pacman plug and play. I loved this as a kid, even though it's older than me. Anyway, this piece of gaming history was part of the plug and play series, which consisted of small portable gaming systems, usually with 4 or more preset games that you could just plug and play into any TV system. At this time, they used colored AV cables to use instead of the higher quality HDMI cables, but that didn't really matter when you were playing games that looked like this. Anyway, that's enough foreplay. Let's get right into this hunk of blue plastic. According to many sources, the Namco Miss Plug and Play was produced by Jakks Pacific in 2004. It came with 5 arcade classics including Miss Pacman, Galaga, Pole Position, Xavius, and Mappy. One of its big selling points was that you could effortlessly plug it into any old TV system. Sorry Grandma, we can't watch your movie. It's time for Pac-Man. This baby will fetch you around $25 and can range from around 100 to 200 new. That's crazy considering it's only 5 small arcade games. The Miss Pacman Plug and Play has an older brother though, the Pacman Plug and Play, released in 2003. They both have an assortment of arcade games, but come on, the Miss Pacman one just looks snazzy. These things ran off of AA batteries. Sorry Grandma, I gotta play Mappy. And for some reason they love to mention this twist control steering. Basically, instead of just moving the joystick, you could also twist it to steer in games like Pole Position and Pole Position. Pretty cool stuff. But did it really need half of the backside of the thing to advertise this? You could have put something cooler there instead, you know? Better. When starting this thing up, you'd be greeted to cataracts. Yeah, this title screen was kind of bland and blurry, but you gotta understand, they were cramming this into this. Okay, so let's talk about the games. First up, we have Miss Pacman, Pacman's sequel, and Namco's response to women's suffrage. Anyway, you'd have to be living under a rock to not hear about Pacman. It's a legendary game with hundreds of fans. Miss Pacman is an important part of history. It's still prevalent today. Miss Pacman is Pacman with a bow. That's about it, apart from some AI changes and new maps. I found that playing the game on the small pad wasn't the best setup. The controller constantly moved around in my hands while I was trying to play it. I almost dropped it, which isn't good considering the controller is the game. However, the gameplay was smooth, and even though I suck at Pac-Man, this was a good way to bring your Pac-Man wherever you go. On to Pole Position. Pole Position is a 1983 racing arcade game, and for being so old, it handles 3D-ish graphics surprisingly well. I loved this game as a kid. See my high scores, Mom. It was also the only game on the system to use the legendary twist steering foretold on the back of the game. Shame. Anyway, the placement of the buttons on the remote make it awkward to change gears, and once again, the smallness of the controller make it awkward to play, although still not horrible, and the game, in fact, still is pretty fun. Xavius, aka the game I never touched. Xavius is a shooter game where you fly over an Earth-like planet and have to shoot at these spaceships before they shoot at you. It is one continuous level that progressively gets harder and harder, and even though it wasn't popular here in the States, Japan loved it. Wait, what the heck is a Salavu? Anyway, once again, the smallness of the controller and the button placement make this game harder than it should be. And since you have to use every button really often in this game, it really takes away from the experience. Not a great way to play this game, but not the worst. Galaga, the iconic space shooter. Referenced countless times in pop culture, securing Galaga as an important part of gaming history. Once again, the button placement strikes back, and even though it's not as impacting Xavius, it does impact your gameplay a bit. Not the best way to play Galaga, but then again, I can think of worse ways. Finally, last but not least, Mappy. Or as I like to call it, breaking and entering simulator. Or at least it's the fun to imagine that's what you're doing. In this game, you play as a police mouse who must steal back stolen goods from cats, such as TVs, paintings, safes. You might be the bad guy. Anyway, the controller doesn't really pose a problem in this game besides the wobbliness mentioned in Miss Pacman, and it's not a bad game to play, if I was good at games, that is. In conclusion, although everything was somewhat blurry with no frame rates, I mean, I can't blame it. It's a nice little piece of history, and even though its controller is lacking and hurts the gameplay, I still think it's a worthwhile thing to try out. And if you're a grandma, get this for your kids. Does it make me want to play Xavius though? Still no.